Good morning. Scott Love with A to Z Insurance, your trusted choice independent agent. Today we want to talk about unintended consequences of the Biggert Waters Flood Reform Act of 2012. Congress was well intentioned when they passed that act back in 2012. After Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and Superstorm Sandy in 2012 had created massive devastation, FEMA was in debt about $30 billion. And so they were wanting to charge true flooding rates, if you will, and for people that choose to live in flood-prone areas. Well-intentioned. Unfortunately, several months later in 2013, when FEMA came out and announced how this would impact certain property owners and policyholders, the outcry was pretty incredible. Let's back up a little bit. Before the law was passed, properties were built before communities came into compliance with FEMA. FEMA wasn't even formed until 1968. Let me just give an example. It's probably the easiest way to try to illustrate this. In 1979, Hillsborough County, right here in Tampa, Florida, came into compliance with FEMA. That means from that point forward, FEMA had input on where a property could be built, and if so, how much fill dirt would be brought in to elevate the property so that if a flood came in, it would cause none or minimal damage. As before, several feet of water could have been in the house. The houses built before 1979 obviously didn't have the benefit of FEMA giving them guidance on how to build a property. So for all these years, the United States government and FEMA have allowed people to pay subsidized rates, not the true cost, but rather subsidized rates for these flood-prone areas. The Biggert Waters Act removed this subsidy and said you will now pay the full real cost to live in this flood zone area. And they required people to get an elevation certificate, something prepared by a surveyor, and this would show the real cost to pay for that flood insurance. Well, unfortunately, these elevation certificates prepared by surveyors indicated in many, many cases, especially along the coast and next to lakes and rivers, that several feet of water would be in the houses. Well, when you apply that to FEMA's flood insurance rates, you're talking about a substantial increase. When you know you're going to have water in your house, they're going to charge a lot more money. The outcry spread all over the country, and people that had before been paying maybe $500, $1,000, $2,000 for flood insurance were now suddenly looking at $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and even $30,000 for flood insurance. So for people that weren't even trying to sell their property, they suddenly said, I can't afford my property. I'm going to go into foreclosure. I can't pay it. For people wanting to sell their property or people wanting to buy that property, they suddenly said, I'm not going to buy that property because I can't afford it. And so Congress got together again and passed the Homeowners Flood Insurance Affordability Act of 2014, and we'll talk about that next time. Thank you.